Okay, I think I'm on for audio. My name is Larry O'Farrell. I'm chair of the board of the Canadian Network for Arts and Learning. And I'm opening the, normally our managing director, Jennifer Petroleum, opens these meetings, but her computer is frozen. So I get extra duty to say hello. And I'm very happy to see you. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. This is a wonderful turnout, and we really appreciate your joining us, and we want to welcome you. When Jennifer comes on board, we'll introduce her. Meanwhile, we have Caitlin standing by. Caitlin, wave of this. Caitlin is our database manager. No, we don't say coordinator. Caitlin, database manager. Yes, and also our map maker. She makes we're going to be talking later about our digital map of arts and learning, and Caitlin has constructed this map. So she is our everything to do with technology person. All right, so it's my pleasure to welcome you and get things underway. First, I want to start by thanking our sponsors, the indomitable Canada Council for the Arts and the wonderful Azrieli Foundation, who are really making it possible for us to do these roundtables. We have in mind that we want to do whatever we can, our organization, to help the arts and learning sector make it through this. You have been signed out because you're currently signed in. Okay. If I disappear, Caitlin, you're in charge. But at the moment, I have a strange thing on my screen. Anyway, I will keep talking and hopefully it goes away. So in the early days of the pandemic, we held 2 of these roundtable discussions across the country. The first one was very early in the pandemic, and everyone was kind of stunned to find themselves in this situation, but somehow hoping it was going to not last too long. The second one, we thought, was coming near the, like a final stretch of the pandemic, but actually it was a long time ago. So the pandemic is still going. So this is now our first chance to talk to folks after you've been dealing with these issues for a long time now, and we're going to try to look a little bit to the future to see where we might all be going. Is Jennifer in yet? Okay, then Caitlin, would you be, I'm going to try to get rid of this screen blocker.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you to help me go around to everyone. We want to say hello to everyone and hear from you, find out your name and something about you, who you're working with or your organization, just a little something, and also a little something about, because our focus has obviously been digital for reasons of our interest and reasons of necessity, both. So I really would like to hear from each of you how you're doing in terms of using technology to help you to complete your responsibilities. Now I'm going to try to stop this screen blocker, and if I disappear, I'll come back in.
Okay, so maybe a couple administrative things before we get started. If you could leave yourselves on mute when you're not talking, just to kind of avoid any kind of like ambient feedback when someone else is trying to talk. I also don't have hosting abilities. I won't have the ability to like mute or unmute you. So if you're having an issue with that, just I'll walk you through it. Yeah, if you'd like to participate and like join in the discussion, please turn your video on. If, however, you would just like to sit and participate like without actually like speaking and just listen in, then you can turn your video off and we will know not to call on you. If you'd like me to call on you, you can like either like physically like raise your hand and I will see that, or alternatively, there is a option to raise your hand in the participants tab down at the bottom. So I'm going to go through the list of participants, and if you want to just say a quick little blurb, like Larry said, about who you are and about your artistic practice and kind of where you are right now. So I think first up we have Artshine.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Thanks for hosting this. This is the first time here, and quite a few people had forwarded this on to me and said it'd be a good thing, a very helpful thing to be part of. I run a social enterprise based out of Kitchener, Ontario. Traditionally, we would run in-person classes, a lot of children's programming, after-school programs in all across Ontario, including Montreal. Back in March, we had to lay everyone off due to COVID. So we laid 45 staff off, really struggled this summer, and now we've pivoted. I've hired about a dozen back, and we're selling virtual programs as well as a subscription service, which is a box of an Artshine in a box kit with a video that goes out to families. But it's a struggle. It's a very difficult year. We're finding the instructors are having a hard time engaging children through the screen. Parents aren't always on board with it. I think it's changing though. It's slowly becoming more of a norm. My biggest struggle is I always run social Artshine as a social enterprise, so all profits go into our nonprofit company, Arts for All. And not everybody understands that you can't run free programs if you aren't making money. So all of these free programs, there's all the agencies and communities are still saying, where's our art programs? And so I'm back to writing grant proposals and trying to find other people to be part of it too, and to grow the paid programs. But very excited to listen in today.
Great, thank you. My name is Jennifer Petroleum, the managing director. I was having some technical issues there. I hope you can all see me now. Good, thank you, Caitlin. So we'll keep going through the introductions here, and quite a few people don't have their videos turned on. So again, as Caitlin said, if you want to take part in the discussion, please do turn on your video. Next, we'll go to Joan Chandler.
Hi, it takes a second to unmute. So thank you very much also for running this. I am the artistic director of Sheehan. We are a community engaged arts organization in the Owen Sound Grey Bruce area of Ontario, on the shores of Georgian Bay between Lake Huron. So we have, like Artshine, everything stopped, of course. We were in the middle of a tour because we do a lot of touring through rural and isolated areas. So we had to stop that. We had some youth programs planned and we had to stop that. So what we did was we turned our touring production, You Cannot Throw Your Granny Off a Bus about elder abuse, into a podcast. And now we're trying to figure out how to promote podcasts, because we're not making money by touring. We need to, and we're not reaching audiences. So we just have to try to form alliances and get the word out to seniors organizations across the province. And we're also hooking up with Senior Centers Without Walls, which enables people to use the telephone to connect rather than the internet, because in rural Ontario, internet is a problem. It can be a barrier. And we're trying, as we develop our youth programming, we're hiring somebody who will help with accessibility to the programs. Like Artshine, we're not used to not working in person, and we're having to learn all of this technological stuff, and to get equipment that we don't have. So there is a financial burden on us. And like you, we're also writing grants to try to accommodate that. I looked at subscription, but wasn't sure what I'd be selling. So that's still in the back of the mind somewhere. How do we get back into schools? I don't know. So I'm here today to listen to what other people are doing and try to get some answers to the questions that we have. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Joan. Bernie Andrews. Okay, there you go.
Okay,
Yep.
there you are. Or there I am. Hello, everyone. I'm work at the Faculty of Education at the University of Ottawa. I work closely with Michael Wilson. Many of you know him. My area of expertise is music education and the arts. So I teach the certification for the undergraduates, and at the graduate level, I teach courses in creativity and the arts. It's been quite a challenge because we received a few weeks' notice and we were told we had to teach online everything. And that works for certain courses. Certainly the graduate courses seem to work well online. The undergraduate, not so much. It's difficult to, for example, at the intermediate level in music education, because it concerns setting up a band program or an instrumental program. And so the students are used to looking at sound production, playing position, assembly, and maintenance of all the strings, woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments. And they don't have access to any of that. So everything is rather artificial. So the challenge with us has been the appropriateness of courses to online teaching. The second problem has been the preparation time. To set something up on Brightspace and to facilitate online learning is very, very time consuming. I spent my summer just setting up my courses. And I must say, for the graduate courses, it was surprisingly rewarding because I had people from all over the United States and Canada. And that was quite an experience to have students in Mississippi or Vancouver or Toronto. I had never experienced that because I'd always taught on campus. So there is there are advantages to what's happened. We've learned quite a bit about delivering successfully online courses, but we also learned what a failure it is for other certain courses that just don't work and are not meant where there's an interactive element, or in the case of instrumental music, where there are mechanical objects that the students are used to playing. It just simply doesn't work. So that's been our challenge, is really adapting. And financially, I must say we've been very lucky. It hasn't hurt us financially. And the reason for that, the government provided the universities with funding for online learning. So we were very, very fortunate that we didn't have the financial problems that many nonprofits are experiencing. For that, I'm very thankful, but I'm also saddened because I realize the problems for many of you is getting into the schools and you can't get into them. And that's been the challenge. But as I say, it's been a both positive and negative experience overall. Okay.
Thank you, Bernie. Yeah. Claudia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia Saliero, and I'm here in Ottawa. I'm a community engaged artist and muralist. And it's been, well, difficult, but as you were saying, there's goods and bads. So I think since the beginning, I tried to found, and I did found ways to work with members of the community, not with the schools. Of course, I'm a mask artist, so that was completely shut down. But then at one point, I started offering some free workshops online, and that at the end became part of the workshops that I'm offering through Mask. So it worked at the beginning with the schools, right now not so much, but I've been able to manage to create murals together apart with communities, and is something that the schools are interested in keep doing. So, but it's been super hard for me not to work with the community, to be close to the kids, not to work with them. It's very hard to give some artistic direction to people that is in the other side of the screen. So I think I'm trying to do my best, but is difficult. It's most of all sad, right? But I think that is there's ways to do it, and that if we get together, we have these conversations, we can inspire each other, and I find that there's always ways to get to the community, although the component of being really with the people is not there, and is something important that, well, here we are. So thank you for holding this together for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Jody.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Jody Compo. I'm coming to you from Kingston today, Kingston, Ontario, and I'm wearing two hats. I'm a private piano teacher, and I have a large studio of, right now I have 38 students. So like many other private studios, we all scrambled to, what are we going to do now? So I hosted small community Zoom meetings every Sunday with the teachers in my area, so that we could discuss what's working and what's not working. So that's one thing that we did, as we supported each other as private teachers in our community. My second hat is that I also work at the Faculty of Education at Queen's University with Dr. Rena Upadis. I'm sure many of you have heard her name before. And I work on the Cadenza project, which we didn't realize was going to be so wonderful for people trying to teach online. We didn't really even know that that was our market. We boomed in March. It started following the pandemic. So we had Italian teachers come on, then we had teachers in Switzerland, and it came all across. Our biggest user base is the UK and Canada. And it's a communication tool for private teachers and their students, so that you can upload their assignments each week. They can log their practices, and you can have this nice online communication going during the online lessons. And you can also share videos and annotate right on the video in live time. So it's been really great for many teachers. You can find it at cadenzapracticeapp.com. So I'm here to answer any questions anyone has about the program. It's based on a decade of research from a large SSHRC grant that they had it between Queen's and Concordia. So that's why I'm here. Thanks for having me, and thanks for hosting.
That's great. Thank you, Jody. Welcome. And I'm not sure if it was said previously, but you can open the chat and anyone can add any links for anything that you're discussing, or if you wanted to kind of comment on what other people have been saying. But please do feel free to use the chat and add any content that you'd like in there. Next, Josh Geddes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Geddes, and I am the Vice President of the Ontario Music Educators Association. And by day, like right now, I am a high school music teacher on my lunch in Clinton, Ontario. So the OMEA, our role is to work to support our members and all music educators in the province of Ontario. And we advocate, as most of you guys know, for music in schools, and we've been very busy as of late. The main focus since COVID-19 came around in March has been to support our members through the development of specific resources to the times that we're in and creating collaborative opportunities for our members. We have had numerous workshops online that have been very well attended, along with our annual conference called Amplify. Normally it would be an in-person conference. We get about 1,000 people through. This year online, we had 500 music educators in attendance, which is amazing. Tons of opportunities to engage and collaborate and learn from each other. The goal with everything that we're doing right now is really just to provide great resources and just more importantly, help for music teachers in the province. Most of you know that the bulk of the province in our schools are not playing wind instruments right now and not singing. So that creates, a dynamic shift in how a music educator delivers content. In my case, I have a class, an instrumental music class for 6 hours a day, and you can't play a wind instrument. So what does that look like? And we work to support that. Heading into September, to go along with that, we also formed a subcommittee to create a COVID-19 framework, which I know some of you have looked at. I'll post a link to it. It's a little bit out of date now, but it was geared toward kind of advising music teachers, administrators, boards, public health, not about policy, but about the research that was out there and the tools that were available to facilitate the transition into kind of the new world that we were heading into at that time. Currently, we just had our board meeting on Saturday, and we are working, trying to work as much as possible with the ministry and public health and get some maybe better channels of conversation open to try to get some clarity into what the guidelines are looking like, and hopefully maybe one day get a seat at the table as we strive to get collaboration with those people who are making rules and policy. That hasn't necessarily happened yet in its full form, but we have had in the past couple of weeks some actually pretty positive conversations with some public health people and with some ministry people. Nothing's happening yet, but it's just really nice to be contacted, and maybe one day we'll get a seat at the table to see what some of that policy and procedure actually looks like before it gets pushed out.
Great, thank you, Josh. Thanks very much. Kathy Browning.
Hi, I just retired from teaching full-time in the Faculty of Education, yay, at Laurentian University. I started teaching art 55 years ago and computers in the classroom in 1982. I created a series of videos of visual artists in Greater Sudbury, Indigenous, Francophone, and Anglophone artists. I streamed them at Laurentian back in 2012 and linked them with art education and education associations across Canada in Ontario. I made DVDs that are in sets of 14, because there's 14 artists in the series. They are in 8 universities across Canada and 6 universities in Ontario. I would have liked to have contributed them to more universities, but it was a lot of out-of-pocket expense as well. They received the Canadian Network for Innovation in Education Grades K to 12 award. They also were approved by Curriculum Services Canada, which means that each Ministry of Education in Canada has approved them, and they have been suggested for use in schools for all school districts. Now, at Laurentian, I received an email from a former graduate student in the States, and they've been put on pause because there's new restrictions for videos on sites with respect to Accessibilities Act in Ontario starting January 1st, 2020. So they're looking at putting different captions on the videos so that they can remain current. Also on this with the videos, there are guides that information on each artist that Murphy Sallow helped to write. And Murphy was hired by the Ontario Minister of Education to go around Ontario and to develop the arts guidelines. So she was my editor for that. And there's also direct information for all of the guidelines. So you can basically take the videos and I used to teach my BEd students how to take clips from the videos and still shots, and they could drop it into PowerPoint, work in groups, create their own exemplars and lessons, background information on the artists, and they used to do presentations as future teachers. So all of these things are possible with the videos, and they have been extensively used and well appreciated. So I'm hoping that Laurentian can get that back up soon, and I'll write my email address at the end, and you're welcome to email me. They were up on the canal site, and I had emailed about that because the URL, direct URL for the canal site that I was sent was still working, but then I noticed when I went into digital resources, I couldn't find them. So just a question on that one. Then also, after being the associate editor for the Canadian Art Teacher, which is the main art education journal in Canada for 9 years, I then finally wrote my own article on the videos. And then after that, I managed to get an article accepted into a journal. And I received an award from the Arts Researchers Teachers Society, a national publication award for that. And on the arts site, the year prior to that, when they wanted to select an artist and art educator in Canada, they chose my photography to put on that site. So I've been developing digital resources for a long time. I'm willing to share these resources with whoever would like to get them. I'm also in Sudbury. I'm on the Public Art Advisory Panel to help beautify the city of Greater Sudbury with art. And I'm continuing to research, write, publish, have exhibitions, and to do my art. So anything that I can do to help teachers in the field. Teaching, as we all know, is a very difficult job, especially these days. And for those teachers who have to do face-to-face and online teaching at the same time, I don't envy them. So whatever I can do to help support teachers to be able to do their jobs, I'm happy to do so. I just received an award for excellence in art education and post-secondary education from the Ontario Art Education Association. And then I was invited to do presentation at their conference, which was just held. It was totally online and a different type of experience, but I think well worth it for anyone who attended that as well. So anyway, anything I can do to help anybody out there, I'd be happy to help them out. And like I said, yay, I made it. I'm retired, but only from teaching, in the sense of going to work daily, but not from art education, and definitely not as an artist. So I guess that's about all I have to say. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for doing this. And I'll write my email address down for anybody who would like to contact me, and perhaps I can do some sharing that way.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Kathy. Yes, your email address and any other links that you've got. Caitlin posted a link in the chat to the videos of visual artists in Greater Sudbury. So if you want to take a look at that as well. Linda.
Yes, hello. Did you need me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I'm Linda Jonas. I'm the head of school for St. Lawrence Academy, which is a Christian school academy, but focused heavily on music and the arts. And and also I run a free musical theater company in Brockville and in Prescott. So 2 musical theater companies for children for ages 4 to 18. And we've been running for about 12 years. The free program that I run has been on hold since COVID, and I've been very mourning the loss of that lack of arts programming that's offered for free for our local students. It usually happens on weekends. We usually do 2 theater shows a year for each of the companies, and I'm very sad that I don't even know when we're going to be able to sing again. So we have done some online things, some collaborative work where we asked people to throw in videos and do videos from home, but it's so detached, and there's something so much missing in just the meeting and togetherness of this whole scenario. For the school, in order to continue with our arts programming, we actually lowered our classroom sizes from 15 to 12 and 10 in some instances, and ensured social distancing so that we could do our regular programming. But musically, we also specialized each class in non-wind instruments. So they are still doing like all ukuleles or bells, boomwhackers, things like that. And this year we're doing a Christmas musical through a video. We're making a movie, and each classroom has got a different element of that they're putting together. But I'm really excited to listen to all that's out there. We are based in Prescott, Ontario. I don't know if I said that, which is near Kingston and Ottawa. And I'm just looking forward to hearing what everybody's doing, and then really actually finding out what's available in the arts around here as well, because there are programs that are running that I can actually let children know of. But I know that a lot of the children that we deal with are students or children that don't have money to participate. So, and unfortunately that is the number one problem, is that none of us have any money to do our free programming. So it's a very, very tough situation. But we do also still open our doors to our piano teacher, violin teacher, and guitar teacher, and they come in. We're the only school in the area that is offering that. And so our violin and piano teachers and guitar teachers are super happy that we've still allowed them to come into our school and offer those special programs. But we are not the norm. I know most schools are not offering those things to our local specialized music teachers. So that's it. I'm just excited to hear from everyone.
Great. Thanks very much, Linda. Matthew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Sheehan. I'm here today representing CODE, the Council of Ontario Drama and Dance Educators, as the current president. And I do want to give a shout out to Larry, because Larry was my drama curriculum and education professor at Queen's a few years ago. I know, time. I'm really glad this meeting happened on the last day of November so that everyone could bask in the glory of my luxurious mustache. I am a practicing high school drama teacher and the department head of the Arts and Indigenous Studies at Prince Edward Collegiate Institute in Picton, Ontario. I have all in class, and going by what Josh said, I think we're both in octomesters, Josh, because you mentioned about having kids for 6 hours a day. And I also have students for 6 hours a day. And it really does give, oh, you're in quadmesters. Oh, so you're doing every other day. But we have every day for 5 weeks, octomesters. And so I'm here because as the president of CODE, we're supporting drama and dance educators who are working online, in person, and in those hybrid models, which I do want to echo that I have nothing but sympathy, empathy, and the most compassion for everyone who's working in those models, because I couldn't imagine having people online and in front of me at the same time. But everywhere that we've pivoted has offered their own challenges. So even having your own students for 6 hours a day, every day, creates its own challenges, just like online. And so I'm here to learn, listen, and hopefully take some things away for our membership from today. And it's very nice to see everyone.
Thanks very much, Matthew. Nancy.
I guess that would be me. Hi, everyone. My name is Nancy Solange, and I am here in Ottawa. I am a little bit of a hybrid of all of these different things. I'm an expressive arts practitioner, so looking at more of art for mental health. And I do online programming currently for seniors for the Good Companion Senior Center, and also for Mood Disorders Ottawa, which is a group of individuals of peers that support each other with individuals living and coping with mood disorders. I'm also a parent, and I'm a chair of the Arts Advisory Committee at the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. And so looking at different ways of supporting and encouraging arts in general. And I also just do my own little thing as well. So a little bit of everything, but also a parent interest as well. So really happy to be here.
Thank you, Nancy. Pamela.
Hi, everyone. Yep, I'm Pamela, and I am actually in Toronto. I miss the Toronto sessions. I'm a community artist and arts educator, and I work independently or I collaborate with other artists or organizations. I work a lot with paper mache, mask making, story sticks, mosaic, like a kind of a multimedia. Mask making being my favorite. And when the COVID started, I've never been, as many of you, fond of technology, but because there was all these summits around the world one could go to, I got to be familiar with how they worked online. And then an art group I was with asked me to do the shadow mask. And I said, well, you can't do that online, but I tried it and it actually worked. We just do the shadow mask sketch. And so, but what I learned in the course of doing that, because that's a deep emotional work, is how to hold safe space online and have people feel confident and trusting you. So I ran several of those with different groups for free, just so I could get the confidence to be present with technology people and delivering the understanding of the shadow. Because I've always done it in person with the whole mask making following it, which adds these other layers. So that's been growing, and for more technology, I'm going to offer something locally, which is like in preparation for a mask festival, possibly in the spring, because I have many techniques of construction with newspaper and cardboard and paper mache that have varying levels of complexity. So this will be a simpler one. So I'm doing this to raise funds for a shelter, get experience and serve the community. Because I expect there's another grant that will come through where I'll have to teach online for 3 months. And I thought I need practice being with family dynamics in their home teaching, because I've been online when I've been working with adults. And so, but one interesting thing about teaching, I'm thinking the theater teachers must be aware of this. There's a circus school I know they do social circus arts, and how they taught their summer camp I found very impressive. And how somatic, I mean, it's somatic anyway, because they have to teach juggling, but how they kept the kids engaged over a 3-hour period, and always, how to, have them on camera, even if they turn the camera away. It's a model I could I don't know, write about later or something, that I thought was really impressive. And I've spoken to another theater high school teacher who online, how they use a lot of somatic body-centered things first. And I think when we're teaching anything, just introducing some somatic patterning rhythms or something before, during a process changes it. And I think it's something we should be doing at conferences in person anyway, because there's too much sitting down and too much being still, which movement and learning together integrates much better. And so that's all I've got to say right now. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Pamela. That's interesting. I'm sure we'll be following up on that. There's been a lot of requests about talking student engagement online and how to improve that. So that's very interesting. Thank you. Pandora.
Hi, I'm Pandora Top. I'm up in Sudbury, Ontario. I used to work with Jennifer at Learning Through the Arts. I started there in 2002 and went through to the end of the program at the Royal Conservatorium.
Sorry, Pandora, you're a little low. I don't know if you can turn up your mic at all. Sorry.
I'll just get closer to my computer.
Okay. That's better. Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
I'm a certified mentor artist educator. I've been an artist in residence with the French Public Board. I work in both languages. I've been performing for about 25 years in the live theater and music business in both languages. I've been really lucky up in the north to have been working as an artist in residence full time, but delivering professional development to teachers in a class setting. And my week would look like 11 classes a week for a project that would be about an 8-week-long project with about 8 visits of 1 hour. I teach all of the arts, movement, visual art, music, and music. Wait, I've forgotten what. Anyway, and back in March, I lost all of my gigs, as well as had to basically pivot, which I resisted very strongly, to going online to deliver the rest of my units. And I did it anyway because I've got a background in film as well. I'm a performer in the film business. And so I had all the equipment at home because we have to audition all the time. And so what I've produced and what's free online right now, which I'll put a link up for, is Ambassador, which is a series of 20 in total, 20 tutorial videos that are equity based. So you don't need any, you need very few materials. The Ontario Arts Council has been studying my work for quite a number of years now because of our pedagogical piece. I've worked across Ontario, Manitoba, New Brunswick, and in Germany with what I do, and I'm currently rebranding myself for creative self-accompaniment. I've been studying the Danny Bois method of perceptive education from France since 2011, and what I want to offer individuals and organizations is what I call creative self-accompaniment, and how to accompany any type of project or your own life through the body. And I've also worked with children with Conte de Violoncelle in the daycares. I work from basically babies up to the elderly with everything that I do. And I'm also a second generation artist. My mother's a full-time. I grew up, it's how I make a living, is completely from the arts. And I think that's about, oh yes, and two things. I followed during COVID, but at the beginning, there was an incredible, and you could check this out, it's called the Creative Quarantine Challenge, offered by Hayley McGee, who's a huge Canadian playwright, now based in London. And it's a series of just show up 10 minutes a day to do something creative with prompts that she offers you. Very, very cheap. She offered it for 10 pounds, basically. And by doing that, you just have to do very, very little, just 10 minutes, and just show up every day. And the result, I did it and came up in the second week, came up with this completely clear way of basically expressing myself called imperfect poetry, which I then got asked to do at the Art Gallery of Sudbury and exposed that there, and got caught with Akimbo called me, and so I've been a very, very, very active. COVID has been kind of like, unfortunately for organizations, because I accompany them, I realize the huge duress and the slower movement because of the nature of an organization. But for myself, being an entrepreneur and being solo, it's been a release for me, and I've never had more self-actualization. And also, most of the stuff that I'm doing, I'm offering it for free to give it away, because it needs to get out there. And it's also very political for me. Like my children who are 27 and 20 are both in the arts, and for me, it's not a passion project. It's it's what I come from. So thank you. I'll put my website up, and I'll also put up Ambassador, but yeah, we need all the help we can get. We're on life support now in the arts as artists. And I think there has to be bigger solutions, bigger vision. We can't keep waiting for the handout. There's got to be a major change. Thanks.
Thank you, Pandora. Pat Jones. There you go. Let me.
Sorry.
You got it. Yeah, you got it.
Hi, I'm Pat Jones. I'm in Haliburton County. I'm on the board of directors for the Arts Council in Haliburton, and we support the arts and culture and heritage in Haliburton County. Aside from many of our programs, which we have been trying to instigate some new things and receive some funding recently for, but I'm here to get insight and information to do with our Artist in the School program, because that's our biggest challenge, as many of you have. In our Artist in the School program, we would have artists go into the school, mostly into the elementary schools, but we also have a youth hub here that artists have gone into and done programs with adolescents. Our group, or our program, is called Artist in the School and Community. It's mainly been focused on the schools, and we have a contract worker that is hired to monitor the program and instigate the program. So it's been a big challenge because we've kept her on contract, hoping that we would be able to continue and get into the schools, and it's not happening. So we're looking at options of how we can keep that program going, perhaps working with seniors. So I'm interested in the Zoom that's coming up to do with seniors in December as well. Anyway, that's mainly, I'm here to get some help and information to pass on to our board of directors. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Peter Zanette.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of presenting to the conference in 2017 on diversity and inclusivity in the arts. Since then, I've been doing a few things in that area, and the COVID's put a hold on a lot of issues, but hopefully we'll resurge on 2021. One of the major things that's been happening is I'm involved in an Ontario human rights complaint against a festival that halfway through a music festival that halfway through the 2-week period, as a volunteer, I was told to remove my small rainbow sticker off my ID badge because they consider it branding. I don't want what happened to me to happen to anybody else in Ontario. I'm striving to make arts inclusive and safe for everybody, not just the artists, but also the volunteers and staff or whoever else is involved. It's been an emotional roller coaster in dealing with this, the legal things, they re-trigger. I'm on my own. I have no legal support to do this, to proceed. I guess at the end of the day, in definition of the word closet, and that could be many things, one's health status, one's faith, nobody should be in a closet when serving an arts organization. And diversity is not always visible. So a small button or something to display that should be allowed. So this will be an ongoing project in this complaint. I believe the tribunal hearing will be happening in 2021. Hopefully, I'm also working in the Ottawa Arts Network in developing policy around safe and inclusive spaces. This was a result from last summer of a sexual harassment at one of the local theater groups. So I'm involved in that working committee as well. I believe if I'm going to complain, I like to contribute to a solution. Thank you. I'll pop my email up.
Thanks very much, Peter. Steve.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Mattiusi. I'm the manager of visitor experience at the Bytown Museum in Ottawa, so a local community history museum. It's been, like has been said previously, it's been a time these last 8 months. I haven't given a tour, I or my staff haven't given a tour of our museum since January, which I'm just, whatever, getting a little stir crazy, but that's the way it is. And also it was kind of disappointing in particular with regards to the arts this year, because we as a museum, we're going to be introducing a new exhibit called the Local Canvas, which was our first arts exhibit comprised of art pieces from our own museum's collection. So we were going to have a nice big opening for that and hopefully work with that in regards to school programming and public programming, but it's up and we have been able to adapt a bit. We were able to make it into a 3D virtual tour that we have up on our website. So people can still access it, just not in person, of course. And the other thing we usually do each year is an event called Let Us Entertain You, which is just a series of performances of local musicians or groups. And we had our performers lined up to go, and then of course we couldn't do it in person. Again, we were able to very, very quickly and rudimentarily adapt to have them film at home their performances, and we were able to post them online, which was really great because I really, really didn't want to cancel that performance. But anyways, so in some ways, we've, as a museum, as a community museum, we've been able to adapt. But again, I was really keen this year to bring more arts education to our museum and partner with schools and other organizations to get that done. And it's been quite a challenge since we had to shut down. We've been closed since March, and we're probably not going to be opening up again until May. So over a year shut down. We also have our community gallery, which is a gallery where local artists can come and put up their own work. We've had embassies as well, but unfortunately that hasn't been able to happen this year. So quite a few challenges. In some ways we've been able to adapt, in others not so much. But again, like I said, as the person in charge of school programming at the museum, I've really wanted to bring more actual arts education and programming into the museum. And so I'm really glad to be here today with all of you, and just really willing to listen to how other people have adapted, some ideas, some tips like that. So thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Steve. Tammy.
Hi, everyone. I'm absolutely new, not even close to my esteemed peers. I used to teach first aid, but I've gotten out of that. I haven't worked in quite a few while, but I've always been an avid artist, loved the arts, music and painting. And I started doing art a few years ago, and I decided I need to spread this magic around because it makes me happy and it makes other people happy. And I was really surprised how, I don't know, I just managed to do it. Anyway, to make a long story short, I volunteered some stuff. People enjoyed the work I did on the windows, but we were trying to beautifying it when all the stores and shops were closed down. And I realized that if we could reach more people with simplicity and color and keep them happy in that sense, and I understand it's healing in its own sense because we're going through trying times. I've been trying to teach since last year when everything started. My only option now is to go into technology, which, as previously someone said, they dread it, and I get that. I am not technologically savvy at all. I can barely use Facebook, but my art club here in Timmins, by the way, I'm in Timmins, really up north, so I'm isolated. So technology is a real big thing for us here. They suggested we try and advance ourselves and learn and see how we can adapt because we are suffering here in the city. Being isolated, now it's winter, our snow is here, so we got 9 months and nothing. What are you gonna do, right? You're gonna get Tammy to teach you some crazy magic is what you're gonna do. So this is why I'm here. I'd like to get some insight from all you wonderful people that have some really impressive stories. And I'm like, I'm not worthy, but I want to learn what I can. I want to pass it on with my art club members, my community, and the people that are like me who didn't know any better, but now I can make it easy for them to understand, learn, and maybe get through this all together with some inspiration and stuff that we've never considered, had the option to, or didn't even know about, because just listening to you amazing people, I've learned so much already. I got my handy dandy notebook and I've been taking notes, and I'm hoping I can really implement them and just proceed and progress and grow and hopefully set precedents and be the trendsetter. So the people behind me that are going to be experiencing this for God knows how long can find it easier than the struggle I'm finding. It's like, where do I go from here? I don't even know enough to know the questions I need to ask right now. So yeah, this is where I stand. So the floor is yours, wonderful people, and thank you for letting me be here and spend your time with me. I'm good.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Tammy. Is it Stephanie from the Woodland Cultural Center? Great.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm also happy to be here. It's wonderful to hear from everybody. We're in a bit of a unique situation because I think a lot of you are independent artists, or you're working just like with yourselves with the school board. So I'm part of the Woodland Cultural Center, which is a larger organization. We have, I mean, larger is relative. We have 15 to 25 staff, depending on season, time of year. So we've also been very, very fortunate, like one of the earlier speakers, that we've been able to access a lot of the government funding because we cross a bunch of different sectors. We can access funding for like the museum and the collections, but also for performing arts, and special funding for Indigenous tourism organizations. So we've been very fortunate in that regard, but basically all of our revenues besides public funding is gone. So that's been a huge struggle because we had a lot of salaries that were paid through those revenues through like education school tours and things like that. So that was a really big struggle for us. So what we've done is we've launched, and it's interesting because we were really struggling before the pandemic started with our online programming and our online engagement. We had just engaged a local marketing guru as our marketing coordinator to do a bunch of rebranding and to connect us with virtual audiences like right before COVID hit. So that was really fortunate. And we were able to work with this incredible person throughout to kind of keep up our online presence. I don't know what we would have done without them. But even still, we had to really reimagine our programming and what that could look like in a digital, like through a digital engagement. We also, our address is in Brantford, Ontario, but we're like owned and operated by Six Nations, which is 20 minutes away. We're in a pocket in the middle of Brantford that is Six Nations territory. It's a really interesting, like, historical piece of land. So because we're a cultural center, we serve Six Nations, as well as Wata and Tenanega. Many of the people that we serve don't have internet access because there's internet problems in a lot of First Nations communities, and Six Nations, which is surrounded by cities, is no exception. So many of the people that we normally engage in our programming either don't have reliable access to internet or don't have access to internet at all. So trying to find, especially like the elders that we engage, so trying to find ways of continuing to engage with our most at-risk audiences while also continue to expand our virtual audiences has been a really interesting, we've learned a lot. So we're finding ways of doing phone calls. We have a program right now where we're going to be dropping off DVDs and book club resources and things like that, because we're also a former residential school. So we do a lot of work with survivors who are by and large elders who often don't have access to technology. So we're doing special survivor engagement programming virtually by dropping off material to their house. And either their younger family members who might be more technologically adept, or if they have a DVD player, they can pop the DVD in. And so we're trying to find ways like that to engage with people who don't have access to the internet, essentially. And then, but what's really interesting is that we've been able to expand our engagement with folks who do have access to the internet. So we've been able to reach groups and tour groups, especially now that we've really gotten a handle on what our virtual programming looks like. We've been able to reach a much broader audience because we've been able to reach folks in the GTA. We've been able to reach folks up north as long as they've got a solid internet connection. So that's been really interesting. We're still trying to figure out how to navigate the whole virtual school workshop thing. But I think we're getting better. So we do have school bookings like through the year, but not nearly to the same extent. We used to have upwards of 200 kids on site per day. So that's just not feasible right now. So now we're seeing maybe like 200 kids a week if we're lucky. So that's a significant drop in revenue. And that's our recovery programming. We had no programming for 6 months or something, or no school programming for 6 months. So it's been a really interesting journey to see like how we can continue to engage and in what programming we're really reliant on in-person activities and where we can find innovative ways to do digital engagement.
Thanks very much. Very interesting. We had Megan from Coral Canada was just here, but she had to run. She left a note in the chat and asked some questions there. So if you want to engage with that, just she left her email there as well. So you can follow up with her if you have any, if you want to follow up there. And Betty just joined us. If you'd like to do we're still at the end of our introductions here. So if you wanted to introduce yourself, just a little bit about what you've been doing.
Oh, I'm a retired music teacher, but I used to be on the OMEA board. But I also am involved in other arts and multicultural organizations. So just wanted to know what was happening in the arts world in Ontario. But I just chatted with some teachers in the schools. They're mostly French immersion teachers, but a lot of phys ed teachers are now teaching music. One of my colleagues is now not teaching music and teaching grade 8 full time. And I'm in Windsor, area. So they are reducing the amount of people they're seeing in the schools. So they maybe have 5 classes. A few of them have music, but then they also have to do other subjects for other students. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Wow, what a terrific group here. Thank you so much, everyone, for introductions. I will send it back to Larry, who will take us through to the next part of the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. You know, this is a roundtable in which the introductions are kind of like the most important, or one of the most important parts of it, because that's when you find out who's there and what they're doing and what problems they're facing. So it's, it's very, very important that we spend the time on that. But then I don't want to go too much past, 90 minutes to two hours maximum. And we have a big turnout today. So I want to give you the chance to do the talking. So I'll pack a few things in here just for a minute. Just that my next question has to do with the future. So crystal ball time. I'm assuming everyone has one, of course. I want to ask you, what do you think it's all going to look like when the pandemic is patted down, when people are inoculated or whatever happens and things settle down? I'm hearing a lot, and everybody seems to be turning to working digitally somehow or another. Most people are. Will you continue that? Is that have things changed? Have things changed in such a way that we won't go back to whatever the old norm is? And what I'll do is I'll put my other question in. I want to also survey you for any platforms that you find interesting or useful, and maybe we could double up the time by, if you could. Some of them have been mentioned already, but could you type in the chat section any platforms that you're using? And Caitlin has compiled an amazing resource on our website, digital resource, and she'll be talking about that immediately after this question. So all of these things that you mentioned will be going into her resource, and there are platforms already there that you might like to take a look at. But I'm not going to second guess that conversation. I just want to invite you to let me know, what do you think, or let each other know, or converse with each other. What do you think is going to look like in say a year? What is your work going to look like?
Yes, and I don't know if it was mentioned before, on the participants tab, there's a raise hand button. So that makes it kind of easiest for us to go through. If you have any trouble accessing that, you can wave me down as well. Matthew, I saw that you had your hand, you were waving. I don't know if that was, if you wanted to say something there.
I literally raised my hand. I figured that. Anyway, so I just want to start the conversation with, I don't think things will go back the way they were before. And I think that's a good and bad thing. I think we've definitely seen through the pandemic some positive connections through technology that have been articulated in this discussion already. But we've also seen the propensity for organizations, especially bureaucratic organizations, to want to save money or cut corners in some way. And I think that's where we're going to see the damaging implications of technology. And so like the positive ones, like I know that we've been able to have some guest speakers come in, especially my Indigenous education lead, Troy Marico at Atayinanega, was able to get speakers from all over Canada for our Indigenous studies classes. And they were fantastic. But at the same token, and we would never have had that. Like, you know, I was watching with my students in Picton. Well, people were up in Bancroft watching, and some people, students from home doing homeschool were watching as well. But then at the same token, as people have been saying, it's not the same to engage with people online as being in presence and sharing space. And though friends of mine through Code and other organizations who are all teaching all online have said they're making it work, it's not the same. And you don't build the same community, you don't build the same capacity. And so we need, as educators and artists, we need to maintain some of the positive outcomes, but we need to fight really hard against anything that's going to be detrimental to that arts education for students and for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matthew. Kathy.
Well, I think we all know in the arts that nothing makes up for face-to-face. And hopefully all the administrators will understand that that's the case, because sometimes they look at the dollar value and think, it's cheaper going online than it is to have all these classrooms and support all these supplies and all these programs that we really need to be able to have to fully teach and for our students to learn in the arts. It's never going to go back to how it was before. Things are going to be changed forever because we've just had this experience. And while we've all had to embrace technology that much more, because many places, many universities, most of the universities, I don't know of that many B.Ed programs, for example, in Canada that are face-to-face. But in schools, it's a mixed bag. Here in Sudbury, some schools are allowed to teach face-to-face. Some teachers are teaching face-to-face and online at the same time, and that's just completely overloading the teachers. So I think that things are going to be different in the future, and how we go about embracing that difference and how we go about creating those resources differently. And I think Canal is playing a key role in this. And thank you very much for everything that you're doing, because I think it's a go-to place for teachers and for the teachers and for the students learning. And that's a good thing. But will it go back to the way it was before? I don't see that that's exactly possible. It's going to be something different. How that's going to be, I don't know that we can all, it's very difficult to predict what that's going to be. Hopefully, there'll be a greater appreciation for human contact. And I think that we already all have that, because we have a lack of that and a lack of social, able to get together with our friends and family socially, let alone teachers and students in situations. So I think that hopefully there'll be a greater appreciation for teaching, and hopefully more funding and support from the government to be able to support all subject disciplines, particularly the arts. So it sounds like by the great work that they're doing at Queen's, for example, that was mentioned, that and many other places, many other schools and teachers, I think a lot of teachers and students are doing incredible things all over this country. And if we could possibly pull that all together, and I think maybe this is a role that Canal has already started moving towards. And if we can continue to do this and to share amazing things that are going on and resources that we can use, then we can all share and move towards, move forward together and have an even better tomorrow, teaching and learning in classrooms face to face. So I hope that it is encouraged face to face, and that everyone can get back to that. There's value for online learning, but quite frankly, it's very difficult teaching studio practices in any of the arts online. And I look at the other part of it, because I was teaching social and legal issues in education as well at Laurentian, that in certain subject disciplines, you can potentially your students can potentially hurt themselves. And that's art, science, dance, and drama. And I'm looking at that and thinking, if those subjects are taught online, and what's going to happen in the future if, if you have certain things happen, different accidents happen in the classroom, if future teachers are trained online and then they don't get the proper training necessarily, it's not the same as having pre-service BEd teachers where they're in your program, they're practicing teaching, they're having a chance to work with others in groups, and they get to go in the schools and they can practice those same practices that they are learning in all the subject disciplines and not just the arts. So I'm wondering, how this is all going to play out for those future teachers. I hope that they have chances to get those jobs in schools, but even when people are looking at the health professions and the lack of practical support and time that future nurses, et cetera, are having, that we can look at those practical experiences for future teachers as well. So I'm just hoping that somewhere along the line that the gap can be bridged, because it's going to be a bit of a gap. And I think that's unfortunate, because those students pay good money to get their education, and everybody is doing as much as they can. I told a teacher the other day who was feeling kind of exhausted and down just about how overloaded he was feeling, and his students were wall to wall in his classrooms and they couldn't hear him half the time because his mask was on. So he'd take his mask down and say the instruction and put it back up. And the students couldn't move. This is a grade 5 class, and they couldn't move around because they had to have all the social distancing in place. And I said to him, every university and every school should have a big banner over the door saying, do what you can. Because honestly, that's all you can do right now. And teachers tend to be type A personalities. Everyone wants to do their best job. Everyone's trying and doing as much as they can, but for some people, it's becoming quite overloading. And personally, I believe that the work that Canal is doing and other arts associations, that's all great stuff, because that'll help support those teachers and the students learning in the school. So thank you very much for all the work that you're doing, and for everybody online, and for everything that everybody is doing, because those teachers in those schools and universities, they really need everybody's help, particularly right now.
Thanks very much, Kathy. We'll go to Josh.
Yeah, I think just to echo some of the stuff that's already been said, but also to the heart of the question, I don't really think anything can ever be like it was, right? can it be like it was? Nothing is ever, you know, once it's been, it can't be, you know, you can't really ever go back to that, right? It's that philosophical idea that we're always moving forward. And in education, we talk a lot about resilience, like especially in high school, and kind of instilling resilience in our students. And as arts leaders, we try to model this resilience, right, through our ensembles, our clubs, and all of that sort of stuff. But I think now where we're at, kind of in this bubble of artists and people who work in education or in various different forms of arts, we have to really look at ways to do the next step, right? Not the resiliency piece, which implies bouncing back from something. To some extent, there's not going to be a bounce back, but I think we have to look at how to adapt to it, right? How to move around this piece instead of bounce back, because we talk so much in education about bouncing back, and that's great, but bouncing back implies you're bouncing back to what it was, right? And as artists, we're all, you know, people of improvisation. We have to look at ways to use the tools that we know to, you know, teach kids or whoever we're working with out in community, ways to maneuver around this and come out on the other side. So I think some positives that I can speak to in the music area that I've seen, and Matthew mentioned these right off the bat, just the pure amount of collaboration that's happened nationally with music teachers in various Facebook groups and collaborating on resources cross-provincially. None of that, to my knowledge, has happened on a scale that's anywhere near this ever, right? We have the tools to do that. We've recognized the need, and now we're doing it. And that's good, because you can't go back from that either, right? Like, why would you want to give up a huge network that's developed over, you know, 3/4 of a year's worth of time? So that network and that hive mind web, and you'll look at us here today, right? And the accessibility to be here. So that hive mind, you don't want to go back from that. But I know certainly in the classroom, you know, I want to go back to wind instruments in the room. I want to go back to singing in the classroom. And I do think we'll get there. I just think, you know, I don't see that I'll be able to run necessarily a 80 kid practice, ensemble practice in my room that is probably only supposed to be for 45 students. Some things like that might change. I don't think we can go back, but I think if we're focused on resilience and not going back, we're never going to get to where we need to be. I think it has to be about adapting to change, keeping what's good about this lousy situation as kind of our workaround, and then trying to get back to whatever the new normal looks like.
Great, thank you, Josh. Jody.
I just wanted to echo some of the great things that people are saying as well. I agree with Linda, who posted in the chat that the last thing kids need is more screen time. And I'm wondering if this is actually a happy byproduct when we do return to some face-to-face interactions, is that they'll be so sick of technology, they'll want to be together. I know in my circles, the recital is missing. So what many of the teachers have done, what I have done, is the kids prepare using the app I mentioned earlier and send me videos. So it's actually like a little mini performance. And then many of you might be aware of using the YouTube unlisted option. So the kids can safely upload a video of themselves performing. They don't choose public, so it's not open to the public. They also don't choose private, they choose unlisted, and then they share the link with anyone that they want to share it with. And I've used this now in a hybrid type recital. So some of the students are live on Zoom, and some students I share my screen and present. So I had a recital Friday night, and I think I guess I would have had 90% attendance, which was unheard of in person. So those are just some tips and tricks that I'm picking up along the way, and I thought some of you might find it useful.
That's great, thank you. Yes, I'd like to hear about that. Joan, Chandler.
Thank you. I wanted first of all to say to Tammy, you're not alone in how you're feeling. It's certainly something we all share. And what we're finding is a challenge of trying to talk to people who are working in different silos and not knowing the language, not knowing the questions, not knowing anything, not enough to get to where we need to be. And so there's been a lot of conversation like this that has created those links. And I really thank Canal for making this opportunity occur. I think I think it was Kathy, you were talking about the legal aspects, and that's something else that we're investigating is, you know, what are the legalities that we need to be aware of for podcasting? What are the legalities, how to, in running a safe space when you're online? Do you still need to have police checks? What do you have to have in hand in order to work with youth? All of those kinds of things. And my daughter, who works in outdoor education and is a teacher, she sent me two things the other day. One is maintaining professionalism, the use of electronic communication and social media, a professional advisory from the Ontario College of Teachers. And the other is about duty to report from the Ontario College of Teachers and a professional advisory around duty to report, because we still have to do the same sorts of things that we did in classrooms. But how do you do it when you're working online? How can you be as aware? Those are challenges that we're going to understand as we're doing the work. And I'm sure some of you, perhaps at the Woodland Cultural Center and other centers have already, or Pandora, you've already, you know, crossed those bridges. But we really do need to do a lot of more intersectoral conversation, and we always involve the social services in the work that we do. So how do we bring them into our online classes? How do we collaborate there without it becoming intrusive or some other animal? Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks. Yeah, Pandora, did you want to respond?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I think that's one of the avenues to take, is that going forward right now, my relationship with the CSPGNO, we have a project that we've undertaken that's going to start. It's a very big project that's going to be partly pre-recorded tutorials like the Ambassador program, and then sequential in real-time Zoom meetings. It's going to be divided up. And it's going to be divided into three big pieces. So we're doing puppets, where we'll do the visual art making of the puppet. Then we'll do the theater arts manipulation of the puppet. And then the last piece, each one will be 8 weeks, one visit again, the same model. But the final visit, we've partnered with, for health and well-being, we're partnering with a whole other department in the school board. And bringing in those experts to talk to the teachers, not to the students, but to the teachers who have actually already had the professional development, because that's the big piece this year is mental health and well-being. And so I think, I think one of the big things, the questions we have to ask is like, not, you know, we're in our own hive and artists, like we're competing against each other, and it's going to be like, who's got the most money to get the best tutorials out and all this crap. When really, I think we can't forget the agenda, which is that the arts have been siloed and have been taken out. They are first literacies. They are and as we become a more multicultural, equity-based people across the planet, we're going to be going back to those first literacies because we can't rely on our language. And so it empowers the other sectors to be able to go and access these first literacies that use it, and everyone's doing it. It's you know, using visual arts is the thing, is everybody's using video now. And so we're bringing in these experts who are going to partner with us and, you know, learn about how puppets actually are one of the most perfect vehicles, because you get to, as the self, move through a whole process and not really have to self-identify, but use kind of an avatar to move through crisis situations, or not crisis situations. We're not going to use that type of vocabulary, because the most important thing is to come at it through play first, not telling people what to do or things like that. And but it's going to be quite experimental for us, and we're well surrounded. But to move through giving voice to the kids, to the teachers, and to our fellow coordinators in the other department for the health and well-being. So I think teachers need as much accompaniment now as artists do. I think, and the other thing I'd like to say is, you know, who's not at the table right now, and it's the young people, you know, and how well are they doing? And because I think they're kind of doing well and not well for different reasons. And I think the arts have to also have a, you know, do we need arts right now, or do we need relationship? And so maybe one of the best things, like I'm an ideas person, but sitting here, you know, maybe the best thing that we could all have is a one-on-one pen pal. You know, maybe one of the greatest things we could do would be to have, you know, even if it's volunteer time, but to have a curated list of artists and let them have one-on-one relationship with each student in a class, so that you have a partnership, you have someone to listen to, you have, you know, a little project-based, you know, keeping it not nebulous and in the void, because that is not how you make creativity work. But to have a project-based thing where you partner with people, because I think that is the thing that we're missing the most, is the exchange. You know, do we need performance now? I think it's more about connecting, right?
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Pandora. Peter wanted to say something.
I know during these challenging COVID times, everybody just trying to provide the basic services that are still needed and will continue to need. This time is also good to take stock of your organization, the anti-harassment policies, the procedures, the training. Are there gaps? Should you do a diversity inclusivity audit on the organization itself? You are all wonderful ambassadors to your organization, but the key is also, and the compliment is, when I go to your website, I hope to see that same inclusivity and diversity you are espousing on your website. Again, this would be the anti-harassment policies. What proactive training are you doing in teaching or guiding your volunteers and staff in making a safe and inclusive space? I go back to the closet issue. If anybody is going to come out, whatever closet, say a health issue, etc., we have the responsibility as arts organizations to be out of our closet in the way we are transparently running things, and how that is, you know, it won't stop, unfortunately, bad people. Unfortunately, it's going to happen, but at the same time, is being transparent is a way of being accountable, and also hopefully a way of being safe, so that we're all reading from the same page in or outside your organization of how you are running things to the most part. So this COVID thing, as I say, has allowed me to proceed in this human rights complaint. Had it not, I would have been running around concerts and work and whatever, and probably super more stressed out in an odd way. So it's take time. We are all healers in our own way, so the healers need to be healed, and sometimes it may be an organizational issue. I have a saying for the 3 R's for change in an organization. What the first R is realization, what you can realize now. The second R is regulation, bylaws, policies, etc. What that can be changed. And the last one is the tough one, is resources to sustain that change and support it, and making sure it's carried through. That's a tough one, but you know, keep in mind, not one model fits all. So in reaching out is one way. I'm glad to, if you want on a one-on-one, provide me with information about your org, or I can just make suggestions, no more. You make the call. I'm glad to make suggestions, take a look at your website, whatever you feel like. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you. And we've been talking a lot about online resources, and a lot of people have posted wonderful things in the chat. As Caitlin mentioned in the chat, we will be actually posting the chat text as well as the video on our website afterwards, so you can revisit this, and we'll be sending out additional links in the follow-up email that we send. Likely maybe most of you received the email that had links already to our map. And I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at the map, but Caitlin is Caitlin is the one who does the map and the research and implementing all of these changes that we've talked with people across the country on how they'd like to see the map progress and develop. And we've been able to implement many of those changes, and hopefully, we'd love to hear any thoughts that you had as well. So Caitlin, I'll turn it over to you. Take us on a brief tour.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen with you all to kind of walk you through the map and how you can make yourself appear on the map if you wish. If you had a chance to check it out with the links that I provided in the email was sent to you, great. If not, that's totally fine. I strongly encourage you to visit it on our website, and it can be just found under Canada's Map of Arts and Learning right here. The map has been live on our website for almost 4 years now, and we're at almost 9,000 arts organizations, artists, educators, and schools mapped across Canada. So it's really exciting how much it's grown in those 4 years. I obviously really am hopeful that the map is a useful tool and that it's easy to navigate and accessible. I would encourage you to check it out, see if what is happening in your community kind of aligns with like what you know to be happening in your community versus what's actually represented on the map. You can navigate the map and filter specifically for if you want to see community programs that are happening. So let's say performances, like if you want to look for, let's say, music performances or music workshops or group classes, etc., you can filter specifically for that. Alternatively, if you're looking for an organization or a person who does programming specifically for schools, you can also filter by that contacts offering programming specifically for schools. So folks and organizations in the map can specify whether they do like in-school workshops, performances. Sometimes they offer resources specifically for teachers for professional development. And that's how you can filter if you're looking for those specific resources. Any artist, educator, or organization with some kind of educational component can apply to appear on the map. You can do so by just going to the Get on the Map tab up here. And then maybe within a day or two of an application being received, it will appear on the map if everything is good to go. And if you wish to complete a profile to appear on the map, here are some great examples of pre-existing profiles. First, this is an arts organization. They can upload an image, a little blurb about themselves. They can specify exactly the age groups that they produce programming for. And in this case, they do offer school programming, so they do all kinds of programming in schools. And same thing in the community. They do camps for kids and they do performances. As a networking organization, we're also really interested in showing the relationships that either artists or organizations have with other people or organizations in their communities. Excuse me. So in this case, this is an organization that's affiliated with MASC in Ottawa, which is obviously an organization looking to put artists in schools in the Ottawa area and further. So this is an arts organization. A great example of another artist educator is this profile right here. Here we have an artist educator who works in schools. They've indicated that they offer programming specifically for schools. They do private lessons. They do group lessons. They specify again exactly what they offer to schools, and they also have a lot of community partners listed here that they partner with, which is great. Another thing that you can add to your profile if you want is a featured project. So if you want to kind of give an example or an idea of the type of programming that you offer, a featured project is a great way to do that. Let someone know exactly the programming that you've done in the past and whether you can kind of do that again for them or something different, etc. And finally, the last kind of profile that appears on the map, oops, sorry, wrong one, is schools, public schools, private schools. So the collection the information that we collect for schools kind of gives a snapshot of the type of programming and the access to arts that are happening in schools. So in this particular case, this school is in Emeryville, Ontario, in Greater Essex County District School Board. And they show all of the arts disciplines that are taught within their school, the type of programs that they put together for their kids, their students, and their extracurriculars, all that kind of thing. It gives a snapshot basically of the arts programming in that school. And the same idea here again is community arts partners, who the school partners with in the community. And finally, last but certainly not least, with the COVID pandemic, kind of became obvious that some people are going to no longer be able to go into their communities and see who's doing what right in their communities. So we created this directory of online arts instruction, and it functions in the way very similar to the map. It's a searchable database of artist educators, but in this case, it is specifically those who have indicated to us that they offer online arts instruction, be it like a video performance or a workshop via Zoom or something like that. So this is also on our website, available. It was like 2 pages, very small at the beginning of the pandemic, but it's like 40 pages long now. It's really grown. It's really come into itself. So this is, again, a great resource. If you want to appear in this directory, you can, it's the exact same forms to appear on the map. And then you'll just indicate that you offer online arts programming and you'll appear on the directory. So yeah, we're always looking for feedback and insight into how you can use it or how we can improve it. So, yeah.
Great, thank you, Caitlin. And that leads to the question, does anyone have any thoughts on the map or anything they'd like to see on the map, something that's missing? And not just the map itself, but other digital resources that potentially we could provide, such as the directory of online arts instruction, etc. We've learned so much today and through other days, as well as what are the needs, what people need, and we are always listening and looking to help where we can and provide resources or share resources where we can. So any input that you have or any thoughts, greatly appreciated. And also we will be sending out, as I said, we'll be sending out an email tomorrow that will include a survey. So if you think of something, feel free to let us know at that point as well. So if no one has any, I'll send it back to Larry for his follow-up question, wrap-up question here. Oh, you're on mute, Larry, sorry.
Sorry.
There you go, we can hear you.
Oh yeah, Sarah. We've kind of been using our time up. I will ask a question in which I guess I can't devote 20 minutes to, but I just want to touch on it because I think it's important. And there are only a few people here who are visual who might participate. How are you feeling? Never mind for now all of your, all of the issues and theoretical things we've been dealing with and the practical measures you have to take. But how are you, and I guess in your community, how are you personally doing at this stage of the pandemic?
Anyone want to answer that? Yes, Claudia.
Well,
yeah.
I have to say that I've been very positive since the beginning. So I said the first weekend or the first week, I said to myself, I need to do 3 things. One thing that makes me feel healthy, one thing that makes me feel I'm learning, and one thing that makes me feel useful. And I think I've been doing it through the whole pandemic. That was my, if I don't do that, I'm gonna get crazy. And one of the first things, as I told you, I started to volunteering and creating opportunities to work from the distance with my community, and I was able to do it. But last weekend, for the first time, and I've been participating in so many Zooms, I'm part of the board of the Arts at Ottawa too, so we've been talking about so much of what is the future, what can we do to help, and as an artist, well, I kind of feel it very personal, right, very close. And there was so many Zooms and so many opportunities to hear others people's experiences, to express my own, that I have to tell you. The last Zoom I hung up and I cried like for 20 minutes. It was really hard because I'm part of the Listen Up program here in Ottawa, organized by the Chandler Music Fest. And I was finishing my mural with the students of the school that had been working for probably 8 months, working on a composition, working with a choral conductor to sing their own composition with their own lyrics and to perform here in a beautiful setup in the Dominion Chalmers with the pieces that we created that were going to be projected. It was a huge thing. And then last weekend we met with all the Listen Up artists around, like in Canada. And I was so sad to realize how much beauty we are missing these days from the arts, right? And from being together. And I could say that this combined with these short days, and I'm from the tropics, so that affects me a lot, that makes me feel super sad. So I've been really, really, like for the first time, I really felt like, wow, what I'm hitting it. Really, I'm hitting it. So I'm keeping up with this idea of feeling useful and feeling healthy and feeling that I'm learning. But and everybody's saying that finally we're looking at the light at the end of the tunnel. But I'm not sure, because I don't think we're going to go back to normal. We won't. So I don't know how much more of this beauty of being together, creating together, seeing these kids performing. They were so alive because they were going to be able to do that, and they didn't. They were not. So that is affecting me these days a lot. So, well, I'm doing my own things. I'm creating. I've been able to paint 2 murals, like commission murals. I'm working on a huge project for next year that I don't know how people are still donating for that and supporting me, which makes me feel that there's hope and people still believe in the power of the arts. I have a GoFundMe campaign and people are donating for my mural to be up there. I have 2 grants, but I need more money, and people are still believing in that. And that gives me hope, because people are saying, well, I'm going to donate for an artist to put up a mural, but there's people with all these other kind of problems. So I think there's still people believing in the arts and in the power of the arts. And my work is community, right? And my murals send images and sends lots of profound messages that are the voice of the community. So I find that although there's people believing in that, I'm just trying to reinvent the way I work so I can work with the community, even if it's in groups of 5 people at a time, because I work with 20 people, right? So yeah, that's what I'm feeling. So thanks for the therapy to be able to vent, because this week has been hard for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Yeah. And, at the beginning of the pandemic, you bring up an interesting point about the weather. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were heading into the spring, and now we're hitting the second wave, and we're heading into the winter, and it could be even more severe. And so that's where the mental health, people have been talking about, Pandora, could really, it's really going to come into play, I think. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say before we wrap up? Oh, Kathy, yes, you had your hand raised.
I was just going to mention in Sudbury, prior to COVID happening, we had 2 of our main galleries here close. And one of the galleries, I was in a lineup for 3 years to have an exhibition there. And I had already traveled to New Zealand and did a whole photographic shoot, which was very expensive to do. And so that first gallery closed, which was our artist collective here. And then, so I got an exhibition in another gallery. And well, just before I was supposed to have that exhibition open, that gallery closed. Then I got one from the Sudbury, our gallery of Sudbury, to have an exhibition at the Sudbury Theatre Center. And then COVID hit and that closed. And so then I was offered another exhibition. Well, that couldn't happen this fall, but yet I finally, with perseverance, have another contract for another exhibition at the Art Gallery of Sudbury of my New Zealand photographs in April, May, while I had another exhibition out of town. And the very gallery where I was supposed to have that exhibition this past fall, they had a flood in their basement. And so all of their permanent collection had to go into the very gallery where I was supposed to have an exhibition. Well, in one lifetime, you know, if an artist has an exhibition close on them, that's really bad luck. So I've had, you know, a lot of bad luck. So what I can say is patience and persistence, especially in working together and working with people. Also taking care of yourselves, eating well, sleeping well, staying connected, working out, whatever it is that's going to help you, meditation, yoga, whatever it is that's going to help you stay healthy and happy. You need to do that, and you need to do that now. And I think we all are doing that, or we wouldn't be here, because we're all taking care of ourselves and the people we love and our students and the people around us, or we wouldn't be showing up here today, basically, you know. And I think Canal is promoting those good values. So once again, thank you for that. But with all of this, as we know, many people are not doing so well. So whatever we can do to help those that are not as fortunate as we are, even, you know, with my situations, it's nothing to what other people are going through, you know. So whatever we can do to help others during this time. And yeah, I think that we will get back to a more collaborative way of working, because yeah, different people mention some people working in silos. That can happen, and people are very busy. Teachers are very busy, you know, they have families, they have tons of obligations, as we all know, and everybody is doing as much as we can. And so the more we can collaborate and help each other, the better off we will all be. And also staying healthy and happy and focused, right? I think we're all using this time to energize ourselves, or we wouldn't all be here. So whereas you can let it get you down, or you can let it turn it around into something else. And so I believe everybody here is doing that, and it spreads it out. So that's all a good thing. So keep up the great work, everybody. And hopefully I'll get that exhibition. Okay, bye for now.
Thanks so much, Kathy. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very exciting to hear everyone, their suggestions and kind of the exchange happening today. So we thank you so much for that. And Larry, did you have anything you'd like to say before?
I just wanted to say that we will produce, not only will this recording be available, but we'll produce a report of this gathering as well, as we do of each of them. You can, now there are none available now. Our research team will proceed with the recordings and work their way through them. But so at this point, I simply want to thank you very much for participating. For me, it's always energizing to participate in one of these discussions. And I thank you for joining us and making it a really meaningful afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.